Hi Agya.
Hi.
Hi Swati.
Hi.
And hi Sindhuja.
Hi, Satish.
Y'all are here for the first time with us. I mean, she have been with us in a few podcasts.
Yeah, I've seen her.
I've seen, but I don't know whether y'all understood. But yeah,
Tried to.
tried to. Okay.
I started understanding that she was talking about mental, and we had just started what I was talking about. We had just started working with the JRS,
Okay.
so I quickly forwarded it to them because there were conversation around their work is also around mental health. So
Okay.
yeah,
So y'all are part of Play for Peace, right? So y'all have been here many times, and this time, how was it, and what did y'all do really? And what is Play for Peace for people who don't know?
So, Play for Peace is an organization that started off in Chicago in 1996. And in 2000, we took it on in India.
Okay.
And then it started. So, the whole idea of Play for Peace is to work with people, communities, youth, and children in areas which has a history of conflict. So later we realized that it's not just active conflict that's the conflict, but everyone is in conflict in different ways. And we use cooperative play to bring communities together. So then it was applicable wherever we went. That's what we realized. So that's Play for Peace in a nutshell.
yeah, and this visit happened this time particularly because we started coming from 2016-18 and working through organizations that were working with young people.
Okay.
And those young people have now grown into, still young, not so young, but they're running their own organization, their own initiative, including Sindhuja, who's doing our own thing also. And just they invited us this time. They were organizing an event in Betikalova called Dream Shot Maker Fair,
Okay.
which had a lot of very interesting thing going on from robotics to artificial intelligence. But they also wanted Play for Peace experiences for young people that can help them explore their leadership potential. So that's how it started, and it's always been our story wherever we go somewhere is that we might go for one person or one event, but that's never enough. The visa is for 30 days, so if we can go and meet different people, do different things. And this time we had Sindhuja already here.
Okay.
She had just recently became part of Play for Peace team officially. She's been part of our Play for Peace world since we met her in 2018-17. So then other things fall into place, and a more long-term expectation set in place that this visit will probably set the grounds for more consistent work to do in the future.
Okay. So, what made you to be a part of this whole program? Like, what interested you actually?
For that, I would love to start with a very interesting question, very interesting story, Satish. So, I was in my university days, and I was in my third year, last semester. So then I got a call from Center for Peace Building and Reconciliation, where I worked for last 6 years. And by that time, I was not a part of the team. I got a call that we have a youth gathering where we are exploring youth passion, and through youth passion, how we can support social change. So I went there. There are so many 200 youth there, and there are different passion groups like dance, music, and all. And I was in a dilemma what I am going to choose. I love dance, but on the other hand, I was doing mental health, psychology, and wanted to get into mental health and all. So there was a passion group there called Social Work and Social Entrepreneurship. And the facilitators were Swati and Agya. And they are from India and look so different. And I thought, okay, I'll get into that rather than going into the dance. So we spent 2-3 days together, and where I think one of the window to look into life and look into career and look into what is happening around is opened. So 3 days we were playing. And it's not about playing, it's about changing something inside to think into my own self and to around and all. And then we were doing lot of activities, 30, 40 youth together. And after a while, when we were closing the workshop, they both were asking, could you please accompany us going to Anuradhapura to work with
A women's group.
women's group and also the teenagers, girls
Yeah.
group in Nochiagama, which is also an initiative of Center for Peace Building and Reconciliation. So I went there and going to Nochiagama, where, having singular community, teenage girls, and Muslim community teenage girls and Hindu community teenage girls, and I am going there as a translator, and I'm like, okay, what they are going to do with them, But within 2 days, through experience, through play, through emotion, how much they could be able to do kept inspiring me. And I think with that energy, I went to the field and I went to Kilinochi and I started to work and all, but we were kept communicating as friends by that time. So over the time, my connection with Swati and Agyat and Play for Peace grown into, mentor-mentee and best friends at point family. But I think throughout the years, what I was looking for is that only one thing, that could we change the world through experience rather than knowledge. So that is the reason I think I am here.
Okay. So when you say play, what exactly that happens in that,
So when we say play, a lot of people misunderstand it as theater or something. So this is more like games, but they are cooperative games. They are completely non-competitive. And we go around the 4 core values that we feel these are the core, these are the principles. First one is inclusion. So all the games will be inclusive. The second one is cooperation. So there is no competition in any of the games that we'll play. The third one is safety. Again, in safety, we look at 4 kinds of safety. So we say 4 PIE's model of safety, where P stands for physical, I for intellectual, E for emotional, and S for social. So all these safety we take care of. And last one is fun. Without fun, nothing works. So all the activities will be designed. There could be small circle games, there could be tag running games, it could be name games, and it could be longer 40-minute problem solving game or a communication activity. But it will all revolve around these values.
So after doing it, is there a way that you all evaluate somebody or a student who was before the participation and after the participation? Is there anything like that happens, or is
So it's a very long-term process, I would say. One workshop, one session, we say, yeah, it helps. It does something, like when Sindhuja started, it did something. But unless a person stays in this for year after year after year and practices it, I think transformation might happen by chance, but it takes that much of time.
Yeah, but to add to that, in terms of, we don't do an active evaluation, but if there is a lot of time, because we don't work independently, we are always working in partnership with local organization. I'm saying local because we travel around wherever we get an opportunity to. So we don't go in Sri Lanka and start on our own. Because we got connected with somebody, they said, okay, come and do it for us, or in other places also. So a lot of time what happens is, somebody in the organization is looking for potential young people. What we are able to do is point them out to say, okay, these 3 young people, do you see how they have, how they progress in these 3 days, how they play or how they reflect is something that is a strength. So, and I think that becomes the sort of an outcome for young people to then build on their potential.
So now, since you all travel a lot in this workshop, especially when you take Asian countries, here the marks, the score is matters, like, very much.
Yeah.
And so we go through a ranking process in our education. So with that, is it easy to transform somebody who's coming into your program? Like, we have a traditional method of education. I mean, we'll come back to that also.
Yeah, I would say it's a paradigm shift.
Okay.
So it's not easy to start with. Like, we have started coming to Sri Lanka from 2016.
Yeah.
And this is 2025. It takes that much time. This time we feel Sri Lanka is more ready. In terms of schools are more ready. We have worked in schools previously also, I think 20...
Last time also, like 23 came, we went to Avisa Valley and worked with the school.
Yeah.
Earlier we had worked with Betty
Yeah,
Kolova.
so again, so I would say it takes time. And once the school gets it, they really see the value, because like the club that has been formed, and yesterday was the first practice piece session that Sindhuja went for in Kandy. Just that the 9th, 10th, 11th graders have taken on the whole school, and there were these 20 students who went through our workshop for 2 days, are leading all the children of the school on their own. The school teachers were not even on the ground. Just, it's amazing to start off from there, and I'm sure the teachers will realize, and I think there must be some response from the teachers, that how did our students manage whole school for 1 hour?
I think I'm just suddenly remembering examples of, I think the teachers here are ready, and they were ready even in 2016.
Okay.
Because I remember through some connection, we went to Periyakalar in Bettigalova. There was this person who took us to a school, and we had like 7 or 8 teachers.
Yeah.
And before that, that person has briefed us saying the head sister or somebody is very strict. So, but they played for we probably spent maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours. But they were mesmerized by the experience they had, and they said that we would really love to have children go through this experience. It's just unfortunate because of the way we function. We are freelancers, so unless there is somebody who is able to call us and do it, we were not able to go back to them. But that experience, I mean, that was 2016. And every time since then, whenever we have worked with school teachers or children, I think the readiness is there. It's just what we encountered is probably the school system here is so structured in its own way that I think there was an inertia. There was an inertia that we experienced in people even willing to even try, say, okay, let's go and talk to schools and try and see if they will. But I think that has what has changed this time, because a lot of people are saying, let's go and talk to a school. Maybe this is something that schools would like to take on.
Okay, I mean, since you have worked with the schools, like, what is the difficulty that you are seeing, I mean, in a program like this in Sri Lanka, like, for us to implement something?
Yeah, so I think as you said, Satish, like it is like we are focusing on producing results. We think school in terms of, I think we talked about that in our previous podcast also, that we say that we produce good results. So the verb producing we use with the school, which changes whole perspective of teachers and parents and the administration to just see school in terms of results. Nothing other than like growth, evolution, crafting and creating. And also on the other hand, I think the basic attitude and perspective that we have of, again, knowledge production rather than knowledge creation, knowledge innovation and all. So it starts from there. And once again, I think structurally also, there are a lot of pressure on every element of a school. If we take a principal, he or she has his own pressure, and teachers also. So then I think that structure, that perspective is not setting up space for us to see these possibilities could be enrich us. That is one side. Another thing is like, we are also, I would say, victim, or we are also affected by the fast-ridden globalization and the global trends and all, which is not really fit into our authentic evolution as a country. For example, if we take our schools, these days, like what we take as extracurricular activities or like, recreational activity and all, again, that is not aligning with the values that we are envisioning. Like either it is very competing and providing different energies. So these all factors from the micro level to macro level, like kind of put us on a barrier to not to see this possibility. That is one side. Another side is, I would say, we all have our own stress and own distresses and own pain, and we are slowly losing. We had this, but we just lose that. And I think Swati mentioned one important point that that we feel now Sri Lanka is ready because of the falling, the mental health of children and adolescents and the younger adults and youth are falling apart. So now we could see, like when we go to school, for example, I in my 4th year, when I went to volunteer in a school, how they were looking into such works of, think in terms of mental health and healing and all. And now how they welcome is, there is a huge difference. Now they started to say, oh my God, we need it. Please come. Could we collaborate? Could you come often? Why that so? That I think we need to take into a kind of reflection also.
Okay.
I think
COVID.
just to add to it, I think now the word extracurricular activities could change into co-curricular activity.
Okay.
So it's part of the curriculum and not extra from the curriculum.
Okay.
If that word changes, maybe it will change things. So Play for Peace becomes part of co-curricular activity.
Okay.
Like the last period of once a week could be Play for Peace, and that might just help changing the environment of the school.
And she's saying it because the first consistent program we did in India was in the old city of Hyderabad, which is capital of Telangana, at that time Andhra Pradesh, in 2000. And first year we were working just in communities, so the play were organized in the communities. And when the youth got confident, they said, and they were like 17, 18-year-old young people, they said, let's go to school and work there, because they were all victims of school system. They were all beaten and abused, like corporal punishment, which was illegal still. And they were like, if we could do this in the school, that'd be so good, because we know that it is so valuable, because we suffered.
They dropped out from the school because
Okay.
of corporal punishments.
Okay.
So the youth took the initiative. They went and talked to the 30 schools. They started it there. And one of those schools, and this is where, the power of one comes in, that one teacher said, oh, this is interesting. And in that school, over a period of time, they changed their PT period into Play for Peace period.
Okay.
And so there was only one teacher who knew our games, but all the 400 children in the school started playing those games.
Okay.
Yeah, and the feedback we got is during the break time, now the teachers are not on those duties with those sticks and scales,
Okay.
because children are now playing Play for Peace games. So it has anyways no competition, they're all playing together.
Okay.
And they all know the similar games.
Okay.
So there's some kind of harmony in the school, and we are more relaxed during break times. So that was just a feedback for us that, okay, it works in school.
Okay,
And-
that's really
yeah.
interesting to
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that. And with the current system that what we have in Sri Lanka, India is also pretty
Same,
much the
very
Yeah, we are
same.
the
yeah.
same.
What is the real problem with the system that we have created as so-called education for the children right now?
We are very academic focused, achievement focused. If a child is not ambitious, parents, family becomes scared, what will happen?
Okay.
But we have also realized that the world is changing so fast with things coming in, AI coming in, that we don't even know 5 years from now what jobs will be there.
Okay.
So it's scary, I think, for parents.
Yeah, because since you said, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just reminded me of a quote that we use on our T-shirt, that consciously we teach what we know, unconsciously we teach who we are.
Okay.
So to talk about the education system, whether here or there, if the education system is being driven by the values of somebody has power and somebody has no power,
Okay.
then what you are teaching them essentially is that we will decide what is right and wrong. You can't decide what is right and wrong.
Okay.
So what children learn is, irrespective of what, they may be gaining wonderful knowledge, but emotionally what they are learning is that person in power decides what is right and wrong.
Okay.
So if that's the overwhelming message I am coming out from school with, whichever knowledge I take, wherever I work, I will be power driven, and that is not a power of empower. That's not a process of empowering. So it will always continue disempowering people. And if you want a society and people to sort of grow up, connect with each other freely, breathe freely, connect with each other in human ways, then this relationship which is power driven is unhealthy for that. And I think a lot of conflict we see, whether at micro level between people at traffic signals or at macro level between political parties, are because we don't know any other way of relating. The schools have taught us the only way of relating is you will have power over somebody, or you will be powerless in front of them.
Okay. So now when it comes to the traditional education system, we have a thing called syllabus. We study certain subjects and everything. But some of the kids doesn't want to study certain subjects. They say, I don't want to study this. I'm interested in something else. But still they don't have a choice. They have to select one of those. Now here we have about 13 subjects, like, you have to select your subjects. So they don't get an option. So they go through the whole program for about at least 10 years of their life. But what is the impact that they will have after that, on that? Like, what does that do to them?
I think it creates trauma, and increasingly, especially after COVID, this whole word that people have started using, which basically says trauma informed whatever, is basically saying that we have to start with an assumption that everyone has suffered some trauma. It could be me sitting at home trying to do my homework in mathematics and my mother or father scolding me for being stupid. Could be a trauma for me. And if I grow up with that, and it keeps building up, right? It's not like that. I'm just using one example, but if my mathematics is not good or my English is not good, that trauma just keeps building on it just keeps leveling up. And then what is my opinion about myself? If mathematics is seen as the ultimate scale of measuring my intelligence or English speaking, and if my repeated messages that I am getting is that you're not good enough, then I'm going out in the world thinking that I'm not good enough.
Okay, so if a person is having a problem like that, is there a possibility of changing it through this program that you all are doing?
So I was just about to add, which is where I think Play for Peace comes. It often talks about the concept of social emotional learning, SEL, which is a very common word now in the schools in many places. So it talks about activities that we do in the school that helps the student not only go through academic subjects, but also get skills of socially and emotionally helping themselves deal with situations. Sometimes it's called life skills, sometimes it's called 21st century skills. They have various names and some here and there words, but these are the things that Play for Peace really takes care of, looks into. And
also to answer, add to that, it's also surprising that some of the teachers education courses have this knowledge about multiple intelligence theories, but somehow whenever we have met teachers, either they don't know about it or they have forgotten about it, that there is a theory or there is a proposition by a scientist who has studied and said that Dr. Howard Gardner, who proposed the multiple intelligence theory, saying that nobody is not intelligent. As educators, we have to find where does their intelligence lies, and that multiple intelligence defines 9 different kinds of or 8 different kind of intelligences. So if the educators know this, or if the parents know it, then they would be probably better placed and not so stressed about, oh, my child is not good in particular thing, and get really worked about it, send them to tuition classes and not them give them a free time, but discovering that, oh, maybe they are good at music, maybe if we support them in that, or
Then
in
the
farming.
academia, yeah, so which doesn't mean that they don't study at all and they just do music. It means that their strength is in music and linguistics, so how do we combine that to even learn mathematics?
Okay, I mean, one interesting point that you said, like, they have these 9 intelligence methods or styles. So the teachers, sometimes there are teachers who go the extra mile and find out it. But mostly what happen is, like, what Sindhuja said, they have a target to be achieved.
Yes.
So they are running behind that target. Unfortunately, they don't, if somebody is not studying, what they do is they send a note to the parents saying, your son or daughter is not good in this subject. And parents are also not knowledgeable to identify or understand. So is there a way to do it?
There is a way, I think. I think what we need to do is not just work with children, we need to work with teachers. We need to give teachers small little tools because they have a big class to run. They run some 30, 40, at least in India they have big classrooms, so many children. So we need to give them some tools. We need to give them a space where they figure out how to reach to all these different kinds of children, and also sometimes to let them know that what part of the curriculum is most important to do. There are certain parts by the board also it is suggested that even if you don't do this part, it's okay, but do teachers know about it? Do teachers assume that they have to actually finish all of this and then let the child go to next grade? So I think some work needs to be done with the administration and the teachers, and then with all the stakeholders. And then when the PTA comes, parent teachers meeting comes, then work with the parents as well. That look, this is what we are trying out, this is how it is being done, and these are the impacts, and get their buy-in. So I think all the stakeholders will be needed.
Okay, because recently the education minister and the prime minister who's in charge of education, she was saying about 5 pillars of that, something that she's going to introduce. And I think for the first time they are spending about 3 billion or 3 million, I can't exactly remember the amount, on building the teachers. Training them. This is the first time we are hearing something like that, and they are spending some money to reform the whole structure as well. And especially on that, resources are going to be, they are investing on resources.
Much needed, I would see, and I feel Sri Lankan teachers are now ready for it.
Yeah, I think in general, we can talk about India, Sri Lanka, even other places, that I think the fact that teachers are not respected by the system is they are the people who are building children's way of looking at them. But if the teachers themselves are not able to look themselves positively, saying that we are doing something that is valuable, wonderful, then how would they pass that energy to children? So I think that, and you can't just say that, oh, teachers are guru and you bow in front of them. That is not respect. Their salaries, their career, their own learning journey. If teachers are invested in, that's a wonderful message, because I think everyone starts with a very good intention of I can change children's life forever. But over a period of time, the system just sort of makes them feel that no, this is not going to work. Their own capacity lags behind, because if I'm going to teach something for 20 years continuously, if there is no input to me about what I can do different this year, or if there is no challenge to me that, okay, till now you were teaching 5th grade, next year teach 7th grade, then I will invest in doing something new. If I am doing the same thing again and again, it's very human to just assume that I know it, and then not create interesting experiences for children.
Here one big problem is that for teachers the pay grade is very low, and there's no one so interested in becoming a teacher, and especially we have a problem in cities. People say you went to Jaffna, Mullaitiv. The problem there is very different. Now recently I spoke to one of my sisters, she knows as well. She said for them, finding teachers in Kandy is not a problem because they are producing teachers.
Right.
But unfortunately, in a city like Colombo, you don't produce teachers here. We recently checked few schools. those schools haven't produced a teacher for about 20 years. Nobody have become a teacher. So if somebody wants to become a teacher, I mean, if a teacher wants to come and work in Colombo, they have to find a place to stay.
Right.
That's expensive. Food is expensive. So by the time they spend everything, there's nothing left for them. So nobody wants to come and work in a city. City is having a problem like that.
A teacher's job should be as dynamic and as flashy as a corporate job. Why not?
So it's a serious, and the private schools are paying higher, and the international schools are paying more than that. So they are attracted to that.
Yes.
I mean, I recently spoke to one of my friends in Australia. They are also having the same problem. Government schools doesn't have teachers. Teachers are moving into international private schools, and their education system is also dropping down because the pay grade is.
Which is, I mean, it's India is the same thing, and it actually directly reflects on the society and the hierarchy in the society. That people, when people who were earlier not going to the schools start coming to the school, people who are wealthy, who are well-to-do, they don't want their children to be studying with those children who are coming from not so privileged background, and so they take children out to private school. Then if a school is having children from communities that don't have any influence, then the school gets neglected, the teachers get neglected, the children get neglected. It's the same thing in India. I mean, when I was growing up, I studied in government school in my 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th grade. And they were wonderful teachers. They were the most qualified. The private school phenomena had just begun. But now, 40 years later, government schools are completely neglected. Their infrastructure is neglected because the children who are going there don't belong to the influential class.
Okay. And this is something to do with politics, of course. I mean, when a particular government or somebody wants to have the society in a way that they want, they purposely drop down the education. That's purposely happens. And we see that going down for years and years, and of course in India also it's the same story happening. So if you want education, you pay and get it. There's nothing that we give for them. Anything that you want to add into this?
So one of the points that I would love to share related to the teachers is that I think how we create teachers, per se, through the education system and higher education system, I think from there we have to change, make the shift of how we train them. So then I feel like day by day we are becoming so mechanical. We are as Agya said, we are in a very repetitive mode, and also we are a tiny part of this entangled system, which we have our own personal traumas and everything. With all of this, we make chaos over chaos. So then where we could start thinking of change is that, for example, I'm a maths teacher. I am focusing my students, and I am trying to train them how to do addition, subtraction and all. But I never thought how I let my kids to feel the numbers and play with the numbers. And so whole perspective about education, that we as the community of Play for Peace, what we dream for is that to create that experience, So then I think as Satish said, if Sri Lankan government is kind of allocating the funds and also having a plan, I really kind of, welcoming them, and also welcoming the educators community also to look into this different perspective about education. So we were kind of thinking that, okay, building schools and building infrastructure is equal to building education, but it is not. We have to build the humans who are there, and also to make them feel and sense and experience and then share the learning. So it's so interesting that, and I strongly believe that Sri Lanka is navigating through that deeper dialogue. And also, like as Satish said, that choosing education as a controlling tool, or like kind of manipulate that whole system and structure to not to be thinkers or not to evolve revolutionary thinkers, is going to be change. And I feel hopeful while also having so much of reflection and constructive criticism on the education system and the teaching methodologies and all. On the other hand, I would love to add, the way we build our books, textbooks, also I think need to be changed. And also, like maybe we can think it's not possible. We have we have this thought of like impossibility, and also we trapped into building everything in perfect, and this all chaos. But I strongly believe it's very possible with e-book system and all. There are so much of creative ways. So as Play for Peace, one thing that we do is like creating engaging curriculums and playful lessons and playful, like for example, if we say safety as a theme, we have very creative tools and techniques and sessions and activities to engage with children to teach safety, which is possible. We do not want to wait until we pass and go into the university and sit and study about the theory of safety. So I think we need so much of creativity, innovation, and thinking out of the box.
And it's all so possible.
Yeah.
Just think of children studying 40 minutes one subject, bell rings, another 40 minutes another subject, and every day they go through 5 or 6 subjects, and this teacher for 20 years is teaching the same subject. Now think of this child who every 40 minutes is shifting gears. So what happens to that brain? And this teacher for 20 years is teaching that same subject over and over again.
And we don't see the contradiction that we are expecting we are letting the adults do the same thing, but we are expecting the child to adopt every 40 minutes to a new person, a new subject.
And a new concept every time. And go fast, come on, finish, next.
And also, like, when we were studying, we only had 8 to 9 subjects. Now they have, now my kids have 13 to 14 subjects. And like what you said, 40 minutes is something that I practiced. But now the attention span is much lower than that. I think it's I don't know whether they have done a study, but I'm definitely sure it's less than 30 minutes.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Definitely it's less than 30 minutes, not 40. So they can't, concentrate on a particular topic for a very long time. And even the geographically everything is changing, the technologies keep changing, but the education system seems to be the same constant for a very long time. And they are asking questions as well. Unfortunately, what happens is, like, there are people who don't know to answer, and some people are not, they don't want to answer also. So it's
but I really think it's possible to rework a bit here and there and start small and get started.
And also at one level to begin, it's what we are saying is you don't have to change anything, you just have to become playful. Because in being playful, you can change everything about what you are doing. If you are playful, then we use this thing called 3H model, which is H for head, H for hand, which is body, and H for heart, which is emotion.
So head, heart, and hand.
So if any learning experience has these 3 elements, then it's like a whole body learning something. But if you're just sitting and listening to somebody, then it's just one sense that is being operational. Even scientifically, if we have 5 senses and we are using only one, then we are being very inefficient. If we can just make them stand and say, 2 2s are 4, and you run a corner or do something, and you become playful about it, which at nursery level people do also. They are singing those things. But somehow we think that as children grow, it should become more serious.
Okay.
And that's because this will go in different direction, but because in workplace we need people to be sitting down at table and focusing and not think beyond what they are told.
Okay.
But even there, if they are playful, I think everyone can be much more efficient if they're able to look at each other, smile and say, okay, how you are doing it. And people have experimented with it, that when you provide a space for people and more freedom, they are more efficient.
Okay. That's why she said we are producing results. So
Yeah.
we are producing people to work in a corporate.
And
Exactly.
also, like, we are in a controlling game, no?
Yeah.
Not to make my kid to fail,
Yeah.
Right.
which never happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be perfect,
Yeah.
But life and the possibility and our body, the way our body designed and our neurotransmitters and nerves designed is to be imperfect and to learn through imperfection and to go through trial and error. So this tight game that we have, not to fall apart, making us fall very deeply than we imagine.
And it's actually really very simple. I mean, what she's saying, what you say, play games. You will fail again and again, but it doesn't matter. In that process, you learn that it's okay to make mistake, because you can always make a mistake and still go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, in this program, is there an example or something that y'all can do, like, like what you said, head, hand and things like that? Any other examples that you can give me on those 4 pillars what you mentioned before?
You
Like,
want to play?
No. I mean,
A story?
yeah, story or something
Oh.
that we can.
So,
Which one to
story we
share?
often quote is, we were in South Sudan.
Okay.
Maybe you can talk about that girl who.
We were in South Sudan doing a workshop in a school it was an IDP camp. So there were some children and there were some teachers who were part of that workshop. And there was this one girl who was about 10-year-old, and she was the only girl there was a blackboard and a chalk, and we would make note of the games that we played, and she would sit near the blackboard and make note. And she had lost one leg in the war, and she had a stick. And whenever there was a game and activity, other children would say, no, she can't play. But this girl wanted to play all the time, so she would somehow join the circle and play. And on the last day, we did a live session where all the parents and everybody from the camp were invited, and these children who attended our workshop would lead the play session. So there were different circles and we were playing, and there was a running game called Tom and Jerry where we had to tag each other and save themselves. So like Coco. And so again people said, no, she can't play. But then we said, okay, how do we change this game to include her? And children came up with, every time her turn comes, we'll skip.
Okay.
So we said, because our value is inclusion, which we had been talking about in every session in the 2 days, they knew that we had to include her. So we changed the rule of the games with the help of children, and we all would skip when her turn came, and she would tag people.
Okay.
And just, she would be so fast with the stick because she was used to doing that. So I think this is how we try and convert some of the games, the rules based on the scenario and the participants. In one of the workshops, we had a person who was blind. So, and we only got to know when the workshop started. So we were like, what do we do? Our values say that we have to be inclusive. We have to create a safe environment. So then we asked that person, we want to include you. These are our values. What can we do? And it was so easy and mutually enriching, I think, because we would tell that person the game and that person would say how we can make variations to include that person. And everybody in the workshop was helping. So we all learned how to have games for people with disability at the same time. So I think that's the beauty of Play for Peace, that there is no fixed rules for anything.
Okay.
It's the core values of inclusion, cooperation, safety and fun that guides us to do what we do.
Yeah, once we as volunteers we went to Israel in 2006, and I was going the second time I had to go alone, and I was passing through the security person asked me, okay, what is this, play for peace? I said, give me your hand. And we played this game,
You want me
which
to
is
do-
called gotcha, where on a certain word, she will try and catch my finger and I'll try and catch her finger and also save my finger.
Like-
So I said, give me your hand. I used some word and said, play for peace. And that's all I had to do. That he didn't ask any other question. He said, okay, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes these things also
Yeah,
happen.
so I mean, sometimes we look at fun as very trivial,
Okay.
and that's a struggle we have also had in India when we started. But fun is a very profound thing because it creates level playing field. When people are laughing together, and that's often a point we make, that we are not talking about laughing at somebody. We are saying, can we laugh together? The moment we have laughed together, we have dissolved the power dynamics between us. Because if I'm laughing, you are laughing, then it doesn't matter who you are and who I am.
But I mean, when you said we have fun together and laugh, I remember like, we have this, I don't know, I mean, mostly it's there also, like, schools. We have this class monitor or class
Yeah.
person who looks after the class when the teacher is not there. The person's job is to make sure nobody
It's laughing.
Yes, yes. In fact, we should do a workshop with the monitors and the school heads and the prefects of the school, and I'm sure it will work magically. They
Yeah.
will have then tools. Right now, what happens is they don't have tools. They only know that they have to put their names on the board, like in our school times also. And when the teacher comes,
yeah.
some kind of a punishment. But if they have tools, and if the class is manageable on their own, they may not even need the prefects.
Yeah.
Because we do not know what to do. Because if we say waterfall and everybody goes, shh, that's the game we play. And moment you say waterfall, everybody goes, shh, and there is silence. And I think yesterday also when there were so many children, 150 children in the school playing together and they introduced waterfall, everybody was silent, 150 of them in that moment. So these tools and techniques and tips will help the school manage children and self-manage themselves. So we have to introduce it to the teachers, to everybody.
Yeah, the thing about it is that if I hold all the power, then
Yeah.
children will not feel responsible. They will make noise. But
Yeah.
if I share the power, which is waterfall, I mean, just using example of how an instruction can be converted into a game.
Okay.
So instead of saying everyone be silent, the game is when I say waterfall, you say shh, and
Everyone goes silent.
and at some point of time, a child will also say waterfall, and then as teacher, I will also go shh. Then they know that this works.
Okay.
And
Now-
it's I mean, that's how I say, being playful is simply a profound thing.
Okay. The one lovely thing what you said is sharing the power,
Yeah.
and we don't need prefix or anybody
Yeah.
if they are really trained.
Yeah.
I mean, what I see is like, mostly what happens in school, like what she said, actually what they are meaning is literally the truth. Producing is what they are doing. They are programming people, I mean, to work
Yeah.
for a command. Like, you keep quiet, stay in the queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I
mean,
also think that most of the teachers are very tired by saying katta dinga.
yeah.
Don't
I'm
shout.
sure.
Don't shout.
It's so
Yeah.
tough.
That was the word that they used in their entire
Okay.
service period, and they were like, "Don't shout, be quiet, don't shout."
We were like finger on your lips.
Yeah.
And because I do training, I'm on public speaking with kids and stuff. So one thing what I find is like, this don't shout is really going into their mind. When parents bring them for training, they say this guy is very shy to go on stage, and obviously,
We made them. They made them that.
Yeah.
obviously when they are, when they are in the kindergarten also, they say don't shout,
Yeah.
don't talk loudly,
Yeah.
be quiet.
So subconscious is learning all this.
Yeah.
So we have to work with teachers, help them understand the brain theories
Yeah.
and how we flip and what happens, and just help them with these little things, and it'll be easier
What's
for
the
teachers.
brain theory? I mean, just since you said
I
it
mean,
again.
I'm not trained into it, but like something like this. So this is the reptile brain, and these are the emotions, and this is the front part of the brain, which is the logical brain. So it doesn't grow up to we are 25 at least, and this part is still growing, and our children are here. So they operate from emotions,
Okay.
feelings over here. So when things become overwhelming, they cannot have logic and understand why do we need to be quiet. This is the logical part.
Okay.
It's not developed yet, and we are expecting all these little ones in school to behave like this, whereas their brains are still here.
Okay.
So now how do we get to their emotions to get them to function the way we want them to
Yeah.
function? That's the part that the teachers need to crack.
Yeah.
The education system needs to crack.
Yeah.
The textbooks need to crack.
If the child understands emotion, or if they operate from emotion, we have to appeal to their emotions, not to the logic, because the logic is still developing.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it comes and goes. It's not perfect there right now.
But we look at it from the other way around. I mean, from the logical part, then the emotional part.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when we are working and training the brain, we are helping children go. But if we expect children to come like this in 3rd grade and 2nd grade, that's what we are expecting to be good boys and good girls. And
Even
sit
5th,
there.
6th grade, 7th, 8th also.
Yeah,
We're
it's
still
25
developing.
up to adolescent and early adulthood.
And especially if I'm grown up in conflict or trauma or disaster, like
Trauma, yeah.
here tsunami, and then after that conflict, then that brain may not have the opportunity to develop like a normal person.
Okay.
Because
No, that's something that I wanted to ask. Like, you know.
Yeah, with the impact of trauma, this may not develop the way it
Okay.
needs to. So then what do we do? How do we handle
What is the
that now?
particular reason for that? Like, you know, on a conflict?
I think whether it's conflict or a disaster, when you're if you're not feeling safe, if you don't have care as child growing up, the brain development is affected.
Okay.
Maybe Sindhuja would be a better person
Yeah.
to add to this. Yeah.
And also, in a zone where there is conflict and where there is disaster, the number and the weight of the stimulus that floods into a child's brain is overwhelming, and they do not get breathing space to really relate what is happening. So they just grow in a very disconnected zone, and whereas like they go through a different realm of growth, and they got stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, one simple way of looking at it is that I am living a particular life, and then suddenly everything changes.
Okay.
Either my home is not there, or my parents or somebody who I met every day who loved me is not there. I may not be getting regular food. I'm not able to go to school. So everything that was for me normal doesn't exist now.
Okay.
How does a 7, 8, 9-year-old child make sense of that unless somebody helps them do that?
Okay.
And if they are not able to help make that sense, how would the brain process it? Because brain doesn't have the capacity to process it.
Okay.
And that may affect the brain development.
Okay.
And
What exactly happens?
Yeah, and we say that when there are like kind of in a conflict, in a disaster, one of the stimulus category that we have is which kindles fear. So when fear comes, we have this fear reaction, flight or fly or freeze. These are the common three, and we have other two now, fawn and flop.
Flop.
Yeah.
So then what happens is like, normal life for a kid, the fear stimulus comes and disappears, which gives space for the brain to go through its own growth process. But in a disaster, the threat is prevailing for a longer time than usual time. And it's either freeze for a while or always in flying mode. So that fear response is like, consisting than the natural time period or like longer time. And then again the brain is like kind of confusing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's actually, I think there's this thing about in normal situation, when you have a normal relationship with children in a school, you can help them with the logic to relate to something and then respond or regulate to what is happening. In disaster, it has to reverse.
Okay.
You have to first relate to them, then help them regulate, and then reason. So it's completely reverse.
Okay.
And if that doesn't happen, they are in the brain doesn't get opportunity to grow normally.
And I think that's where Play for Peace comes in, where it works in the conflict areas or areas where there is stress and trauma. That these games and activities help them to regulate,
Yeah.
self-regulate, that we
And,
thought of
and
time
it
say.
starts with connection.
Okay.
So because play is about connecting, and also a group of children playing together is the immediate natural that you can offer them. Because for children, playing is their language, is their everyday thing. So at least if we can, that's the quickest thing you can offer them.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes even before food, regularly play can reach there. And so even if play is there, it can sort of give them a sense of somewhat normal.
Okay. Like, apart from conflict and disaster, even in metro cities, I mean, the kids
No
hardly
space to
get
play.
no space to play, and they don't get time to play as well. They go for tuition classes and all that. I mean, we had enough and more time to play.
Right.
So it's no difference, I think, if it's
It's the
conflict.
same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
story with them.
Yeah, and especially in today's world, when we talk about 20th century skill, when we are talking about innovation, there's this researcher or writer called Stuart Brown, who's written a book about play. He was giving example about a NASA story that there was a point of time when they started realizing that the top-notch graduates that they are recruiting from Harvard and all these are not being able to yield the results they wanted. I mean, in terms of innovation or new discoveries. And they sort of commissioned a research and found this out, that the person who doesn't have a play history, if they have not played in childhood, for them to become innovative is difficult. And then sort of they change their recruitment systems to ensure that they understand a person's play history before recruiting them.
Okay. That's
Because when we talk about play, but when children are playing, they are doing everything that a brain needs to do, because thinking of different options, negotiating with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many things, so many stimulus in play that is happening, and it's happening in safe space, that the brain gets the maximum stimulus to develop.
Yeah, I see that because my both kids do play, and especially my elder one is more into football. Like, it's a game that, you have to take quick decisions. I mean, you have to work as a team.
Yeah.
You have to you have to actually trust your players, friends and all that. I mean, when they talk about the game, when they reflect on what happened, I mean, I can hear a lot of things what you say right now. I mean, they say a lot about, I mean, I believe that he will be there. I mean, this is what we had to do. Somebody was not there, so I had to go and do it.
Yeah.
So these things, I think, I don't know whether it's consciously, but unconsciously
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the brain is experience. I mean, you can't teach these things, right? This is something that comes from experience, and that's why play is so valuable.
So how do they respond? Like, when you all go and introduce this to kids, like, when I mean, anything that is new, they are not ready to accept it.
Yeah. So again, we don't go on our own and implement this play for peace anywhere. Like over here, it is through Sindhuja, who already had visited the school and had a conversation with them, and the students knew that they are getting into a program like this. And then we came in and did a 2-day workshop along with Sindhuja, who's speaking their language. Teachers were also participating along with children. So it is not done in isolation.
Okay.
I think that works.
Yeah, and having said that, we haven't experienced. I mean, I don't know
In 25.
if I remember anything where we have gone and started playing with children if they're not responded.
Children just love to play.
Yeah.
And even adults love. And if they can't join in the circle because of the inhibitions, they will stand around, watch and laugh and clap and do things and push their child into the circle. Go play, even if the child is shy. So we have always seen that joyful thing. Maybe again because the values are fun and inclusion, nobody's sent out, nobody's getting angry in the circle.
I think also because there's no competition.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. Because if anybody,
It's all win-win.
a
So,
lot of people will not come in if they have inhibitions, because then they're going to get judged or they're going to lose, and then anyway, if I'm going to get out of the game, why go at all?
And also to add that, maybe I wanted to say in a very funny way that it's very abnormal. It's not normal. And like there is no kind of need to perform
Yeah.
and proving and to, show off and all. So as you said, the kids always, for example, yesterday in the school, like we had last weekend 2-day training with the adolescents. Yesterday the adolescents were going and training the children. And 1 hour session, after 45 minutes, when we end the game and call, Akka, oru game please ka. And they were like, just 45 minutes of playing, because it's to no words, no big, like kind of talks and lectures and all. So that's why I said it's abnormal.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think we just connect to their soul and just connect to their innermost realm, and they became so playful, and then magic happens.
Yeah. And now the whole idea is to sustain the process. So it's not just 1 week that they have played. Now this cycle has to go on for the whole year.
Okay.
Where eventually these adolescents begin to run play sessions on their own. And imagine now these 9th, 10th, 11th graders, when they become adults, with this experience of leading the whole school on their own, what kind of adults will they be?
Okay.
So in a way, their leadership skills that we have been thinking of as for adults to have workshops, it's already happening here.
Okay.
While they are designing their session of 45 minutes. They are in teams of 3 and 4 and 5. So they are talking to each other. They are coordinating. Okay, this game you lead, this game I'll lead. Ritual you will do. So all the skills that you needed as life skills is coming together.
Okay.
When they are planning, when they are executing, they have to be spontaneous. If there is a violence, if some child hits, they have to stop. They have to talk about. We did the 5-finger agreement with them, where we have a behavior agreement. So these behaviors are acceptable and these are not acceptable. What do we do with that if something happens like this? So they grow learning all these things, and as adults now they are, I don't know, we can call them responsible citizens or adults with
Fun-loving, responsible citizens.
yeah.
Not boring.
Fun-loving, responsible citizens with holistic growth
Yeah.
that we always want the schools to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you all are in the process of expanding the program, isn't it? Yeah, or is it?
I hope so. We would love to.
Yeah, I think it's just 2 of us, and we are always ready to go anywhere where people want us.
Okay.
So we will keep coming back.
As long as Sri Lanka wants us.
Or even Sindhuja.
Sri Lanka.
Okay. Anything else that you want to add, Sindhuja?
So one thing that I wanted to say is that, learning is playful, teaching is playful, parenting is playful, everything is playful. So just feel free to connect, and, like making connections in current world is not difficult, it's very easy. So we are here, and knowing Satish, I know he is a playful person and believing the core values and all. So, and also I wanted to say that, Play for Peace and we people here who came here, it's more than an organization. We are a community. And in Sri Lanka, if we take like already, like Center for Peace Building and Reconciliation and Dream Space and I Grow, Batikalo, Mulattivu, there are many people, Yeah. So if someone listen to this podcast and feel that, okay, we would love to explore this playful journey, and we are love to share the resources and love and the play.
Yay!
Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Our joy completely.
Yeah, it was fun.
We hope to see you again in the future
Yeah.
as well.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ලංකාවේ උන් එතකොට ජීවත් වෙලා හිටියොත් කියයි ඔය උළුවස්සේ ගහා පැත්තට ගියාම තමයි රාවණා බුදියන් ඉන්න තැන තියෙන්නේ.
සර් කැන්සල් කරන්න නම් එපා. මං එන මග විනාඩි 2කින්.
ඇත්තටම කියනවා නම් උන් ඉස්කෝලේ ගිය වෙලාවේ නිදා ගන්න වෙලාවේ මම පට්ටාදරේ වුණා. ලා මකලෝකේ අන්තිම last final conclusion act
www.slvlog.lk වෙබ් අඩවියෙන් දැන් ඔබට නැරඹිය හැක.